In the Zone, presented by TD.
It's another edition of In the Zone, presented by TD. I'm Ben Ennis, along with Mike Wilner, and a beautiful, nice, sunny, well, it's kind of sunny, a little overcast, but the sun's trying to peek out here at Rogers Center as we're in the Action Zone seats. And Mike, big news this week, obviously, Adam Lind sent down. He had his 100 so at bats in the major leagues and really hasn't produced since the first half of last season. Have to go back a couple of years to see some pretty impressive numbers from Adam Lind, but I mean, it really has been a tough calendar year for Adam Lind.
Yeah, almost exactly. I mean, he was sent down on May 17th, and June 17th of last year was when he stopped hitting. And you look at the first half, and at the All-Star break, he still had an OPS of around 900. He was still around the league lead in RBIs. He'd hit 13 home runs in like 54 games or something. But really, it was the middle of June where it all stopped, and he went on this steep, crazy decline. Couldn't pull himself out of it, hurt his back, hurt his wrist, and this year he just didn't hit. And it's completely mystifying, and nobody knows why, nobody knows what's wrong, and nobody knows how to fix it. So they figure, get him away from the bright lights, have him not have to talk to us every day after he goes 0 for whatever, and have it be so that, you know, you don't have to worry about pinch hitting for him because you don't really care that much about winning the game. You care about getting him right. And, I mean, he's 28. He can't be done. He just can't. I mean, he's too good a hitter. And so, you know, they compared him to Edwin Encarnacion, who's like 15 feet away from us, who went down in June of 2010. But even then, his slugging percentage when he went down was .469 while he was hitting 200, right? And he went down for a week, and he tore up Vegas, and he came back, and he's basically the same hitter he was. And now, 2 years later, he's become really, really good. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you think. I don't know what to do about it, but I can't imagine that he's not going to be a good hitter in the major leagues again.
Well, they're going to give him every opportunity, you would think, to find it again because they just have too much invested in him, not just in time, but actual money as well. And it's the last chance they have to send him down without repercussions and having to send him through waivers. He did have that option left, so they were able to send him down to AAA without the risk of losing him. And I guess they are thinking it's a confidence thing, and everybody hits in Vegas. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that Adam Lind's going to have an OPS over 1,000. He's probably going to hit a home run a game down in Vegas in that ballpark, and the number of hitters ballparks in the Pacific Coast League. But I don't know. To me, I see it as just a confidence thing. Just get that guy to remember what it's like to hit home runs again.
I think maybe that's a really good point. And I think it might be a too many cooks thing, too. Like when you start to struggle, this guy's got advice, and then this guy's got advice, and then these 12 people all have something to tell you. And I think Adam got really messed up. I mean, Adam, he's a smart guy. He doesn't show it. He's a simple, you know, the way he deals with the media when he talks and stuff. But he's a smart guy and very smart about hitting, especially if you can really get into a conversation about hitting with him. I think that he's let way too many things get into his head.
I don't have that problem, by the way.
No, me neither. It's great. I think that he thought of himself as an aggressive guy, and then he started chasing too much, so they told him, take more walks, and to take more walks, he wants to be more passive, and he let too many pitches go early, good pitches go early in the count, and they tried to be aggressive again, and he just got himself completely messed up, and hopefully, you're right, he goes down, and the OPS is like 1,500, and he hits 600 in Vegas, and it's certainly possible, and he gets himself right, and he gets back.
Changes the complexion of that Vladimir Guerrero deal, though, I think, personally. I know it's still a minor league deal, and we weren't expecting him and still shouldn't expect to see him before June, but it looks like his timetable has been accelerated, and I think John Farrell's pretty much said as much. Yep. Apparently he hit a home run about 500 feet in extended spring training the other day. That is someone that I think the Blue Jays are at least counting on to provide something as the DH, I think, in maybe a couple weeks.
I think hoping more than counting on. He did hit a home run over the batter's eye in Dunedin, but it was batting practice. You know, it was batting practice. Yeah, but it wasn't like facing a pitcher in a game or anything like that. But it shows something for sure, especially since he only hit 13 home runs last year. So I think they're hoping that in the beginning of June that he hits well in extended spring, he hits well with the Dunedin Jays, and he's up here early June and throw him in the DH spot, hit him sixth or whatever, and let him go and see what happens. It's found money, basically, with Vladimir. But, we were kind of thinking that when they signed him in the back of our heads. Is this a thing about Lind? And I don't know if it made their trigger on Adam Lind any shorter. I think the Laurie suspension had more to do with it than anything else to get the roster spot for Gomes. But we'll see. And we'll see who comes up on Monday. If Gomes goes back down, which there have been a ton of cryptic little hints that he's not staying up past the Laurie suspension. If he goes down, will it be David Cooper, who's probably a stopgap, or will it be Mike McDade, who's an interesting guy that they're going to want to take a lengthy look at?
Yeah, and there's so much we got to get to. I want to talk about Yan Gomes, but let's start with the Brett Laurie thing. Suspended for 4 games. I thought it would be 5, so it was a little under what I thought it would be. Of course, he didn't mean to throw his helmet at John Miller. Bill Miller. John Miller's from...
You would have thrown it at John Miller.
No, I don't think he would have. John Miller's a Hall of Famer. Yeah. But he threw his helmet, bounced off the ground. It didn't look very good. Those pitches were nowhere near the strike zone, Mike, and we've seen Bach and Bob Davidson was suspended for a game today as well. So apparently it's not just free reign for the umpires. They have repercussions as well. But, yeah, I feel like Brett Laurie probably learned a lesson from this.
I think so, but the lesson is don't throw your equipment anywhere near an umpire, not don't flip out when you don't get a call you like.
You can freak out.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And you know what? The 3-1 strike was... You look at the overhead view, it was over the left-handed batter's box. It was 6 to 8 inches outside, and apparently, we know it was a slow call, but we don't know whether or not he called it a strike because Laurie took off. We know that he called the next one a strike because Laurie took off. Though if you look at the pitch FX, it was only a little bit above the top of the strike zone, but when it crossed the plate, it was at the letters, and that's not a strike. And whether it's in the strike zone or not, nobody calls that pitch a strike. And he kind of did seem to ring him up rather enthusiastically there.
Do your thing. Tell the people why you want robo-umps.
That's why I want robot umpires, because a strike is a strike, a ball is a ball, you're safe or you're out, whether or not the umpire's feelings are hurt. It's ridiculous. People talk about Brett Laurie acting like a 10-year-old throwing his helmet. What was Bill Miller doing, acting like a 10-year-old because he felt like he'd been shown up, so I'm going to take it out on this kid, and it was ridiculous.
Yeah, he did what I would have done in the situation, which is, I don't know, if you do things that I would do, it's not a good idea for people to do. All right, quickly, Yan Gomes, great story. Born in Sao Paulo, Brazil. He's in the major leagues. First Brazilian ever to play in the major leagues. Couple hits in his big league debut. Great things out of spring training from the guy. What's not to like about him?
Really, what's not to like about him? I mean, except the 330 career on base in the minor leagues as a pro. He had a great spring. He opened a ton of eyes. Like Reed Johnson a few years back. That spring he came up and he made 2 great catches in center field, and people started to talk about him. Same thing with Yan Gomes. He had a great spring. People started to talk about him and kind of saw him as, maybe this guy can play in the big leagues. I don't think anybody expects him to be a long-term starter. I don't think anybody expects him to be a middle-of-the-order bat. But he certainly got the job done in his first game. He was not challenged at third, and he is a catcher. Let's not forget that. But he had one play. It was a pop-up. He caught it. Great. It's a cool story, and he's legit Sao Paulo too. It's not like Jesse Crane, born in Toronto, moved to the States when he was 3 weeks old or whatever. He was in Brazil till he was 12, and he learned how to play baseball down there. So it's fantastic, and I was kind of surprised there wasn't a lot of green and yellow in the stands in his debut. Hopefully that happens now that people have a little time to process it, and his parents will be here for the opener of the Mets series. So it's a really, really cool story, and you hope that he can cobble together a big league career for himself.
Yeah, hopefully they've started building that statue right now in Sao Paulo. First Brazilian ever to play in the major leagues. Mike, thanks for this, buddy.
Is he going to light the Olympic torch in Rio now?
I think he might. That's a very good possibility. Thanks, buddy.
Anytime.
And Gomes got his MLB career off to a blistering start. His first 4 games with the Blue Jays, he was hitting at a 400 clip, in which he connected for his first career home run to go along with 3 runs, 3 RBIs as well. And speaking of Mr. Gomes, I got a chance to catch up with the Brazilian over the weekend to see how someone born in soccer-crazed Sao Paulo would even hear about baseball, let alone choose to play it over soccer. Yan, we just mentioned it off air, but Toronto's got to feel like a long way from Sao Paulo right now. I mean, did you even know what Toronto was when you were growing up in Sao Paulo?
I kind of did because I was a big MLB follower, so I knew about it. To be honest, maybe when I was growing up, I didn't really know where Canada was, but it's been an absolutely amazing feeling, and I thank everybody for just welcoming me in.
I mean, being a baseball fan in Brazil, it's got to be weird. It's kind of like being a cricket fan in Canada, although we do have I like cricket, actually. But, I mean, what did your friends say to you when you were like, yeah, I'm a big baseball fan, like baseball? Had they even heard of it?
Well, the friends that I had in Brazil were mostly, like, surrounded around baseball, the little community that we had. But it was, it was kind of like a big hobby sort of thing. We did take it in. They knew I was a big fan, and it just... When they heard that I was moving, they've always been supportive over me, so it's been great having a great supporting cast with me.
Obviously, Brazil is known mostly for its soccer, and some of the world's best soccer players come out of Brazil, and Pelé is probably a sporting hero of yours. But, I mean, how did you integrate? I mean, did you love soccer, or was it always baseball for you?
No, soccer was definitely the first thing growing up with my family, because my parents and my brothers, they're all big Santos fans. So it was just it was a huge thing growing up watching soccer. It was like amazing sitting down. It's kind of like what families do now watching baseball. They get a base set, you're going up. That's kind of like how we were in Brazil watching soccer.
Can you almost? It must be hard to put into words the kind of passion that Brazilians have for soccer and how they can just jam-pack some of those stadiums to watch their hometown team and World Cups and the number of World Cups that the Brazilian team has played. Is there any way to sort of explain that to people who don't know what it's like growing up in Brazil around soccer?
Well, I mean, I know a lot of people in Canada know. It's kind of the same thing as hockey. They're so passionate and they want, like, there's so much involved. There's so much outside of the game that's involved. And soccer, I mean, it's what we grew up playing. You can, wrap balls around in paper and then you're playing. It's what you knew. You grow up just playing soccer, so it's extremely passionate in Brazil.
Yan, I'm sure when you got the call to come up to the major leagues, it was maybe a thrill of a lifetime. But I mean, for me personally, when I started to hear your name more and more in spring training, people talking really positively about you, and it was the first time I'd heard about you, but thought that you might be a guy that got called up at some point in this season. So looking back at spring training, did you have an inkling that maybe some point this season you'd get a call up to the major leagues?
Everyone does. Everyone, especially going to big league spring training, everyone thinks, I might have a chance. But, I kind of didn't let that take it into what I was doing. I just wanted to keep working hard, and, like I said, the game will play it out itself. It's a game we grew up playing. You just have fun, and things will turn out.
Yeah, on that, I got to go back to that first at bat. I know it was a strikeout, but that first hack that you had, man, where was that ball going if you made contact?
I don't want to put it because I feel he was an amazing pitcher, but I don't know where it would have went. But if I might have connected it, I might have gotten a pretty good swing. I might have got a pretty good hit out of it. But it was, no matter what, kind of that first at bat, I was coming out hacking. So it's just want to get that first feeling out of the way. As soon as I came in and dug out the strikeout, JP looked at me. He's like, "Hey, got it out of the way, so let's go now."
Yeah, and you came back with a couple of hits as well. Yan, thanks for this, and hopefully continued success.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
That'll do it for another episode of In the Zone presented by TD. Make sure you check us out on Twitter, Ben Ennis and Mike Wilner. Also, you can listen to our audio podcast every week on fan590.com. We'll see you next week.